Hi guys! Today is the day, the first day of the Consumption Blog Tour, and I wanted to take a minute to share some thoughts about the horror genre in general. That's what I was going to talk to you about today. So, a lot of times, any of you who love horror, I'm sure, have probably encountered the person in your life who doesn't, or who doesn't understand why you would write it or read it. And I'm sure for everyone it's different, and there are lots of reasons why you enjoy the genre. For me, it's complicated. There's no one simple reason, but I wanted to talk about one of the reasons that I write it and love it today, and that is I think horror, good horror, great horror, really overturns the status quo and is a kind of revolution. It's a kind of trying to think of the best way to put this without sounding too over the top. It's going to sound over the top anyway, but I think great horror really just explodes our cultural norms and makes us reevaluate, rethink, and maybe even rebuild what we think of as the everyday, either in our imagination or maybe even just in the way that we see the world around us. So I just wanted to share a quote or two with you guys today from this book that I'm reading, and it's called American Gothic Fiction. It's kind of an overview. The light's probably going to be bad on this, but I will put a link to it so that you guys can, if you want to read it, you can look at it. It's an academic book, so if that is not your thing, that's fine. If it is, I think it's got some good stuff in here. I think it's a little dated. I think it's a little patriarchal, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot of great stuff to extract. It gives a good overview, I think, of the genre. So one of the quotes from this book is this. Hallmarks of the Gothic include a pushing towards extremes and excess, and that, of course, implies an investigation of limits. Good, agree so far. And exploring extremes, whether of cruelty, rapacity, and fear, or passion and sexual degradation, the Gothic tends to reinforce, if only in a novel's final pages, culturally prescribed doctrines of morality and propriety. So, I mean, you get that, right? Like, you read any Gothic book, any horror book, we see the serial killer come on the scene and we're horrified. We see the freak for the first time, and it's something totally other. It's something different, and that scares us. We don't like it. Or we like it. I mean, if you're like me, we like it, but we understand that it's different, and the people in the book react negatively against it, usually. Okay. Just to skip down a little bit here. Gothic is, in essence, a reactionary form, like the detective novel, one that explores chaos and wrongdoing and a movement towards the ultimate restitution of order and convention. Meaning that at the end, everything is put back to rights. This book also suggests that the Gothic was made so that people could sort of be titillated. We could just, enjoy seeing the grisly gore, the things that we weren't actually allowing ourselves to do, but we wanted to watch someone else do them, all the horrible violence. But I would have to disagree. For me, I think that's shitty horror. If that's all you're in it for, is just to sort of watch it for the sake of getting off on the violence. I mean, I guess that's your thing. That's just not it for me. I don't think it's very hard to write that. I don't think it's very hard to make films like that. I don't think they're very good. I think really great horror, and here's where I would disagree with the introduction to this book. I don't think it does reinforce conventions. I think it makes us rethink conventions. I think good horror makes us see the world in a different way. So for me, let me just take one of my favorite horror books, Stephen King's It. It was one of the first ones I read, and it is about a group of kids who kind of, comes back to save their town, maybe save the world. And what they come to understand during the battle is that they are able to, children have power, B, imagination has power, and C, it's sort of up to us to defeat whatever is evil. And D, the most interesting thing to me is that that evil is just something that we are creating. I mean, in the book, no spoilers here. I'm sure most of you have read it anyway. If you haven't, go read it. It's so good. There's a monster that sort of feeds off of fears, and whatever they're most afraid of, that monster uses against them. I mean, that's a trope that's been used over and over, but I think King does it really, really well in that book. But for me, why that destroys conventions is that instead of just saying there's something out there that's bad that you have to defeat, it's making us see sort of the weaker members of society, the children, and you can think about like the children within us too, as being the most powerful. So the things that are actually powerful are not the external, they're the internal. They're not adults, they're children. They're not, something that you would usually use to go out and fight bad things. They're not a gun. They're not, choose your weapon. They are sort of the self-knowledge. So I think that's just one example of what I think a great book is. Other one I'll just throw out there really quickly is Catherine Dunn's Geek Love. You can argue with me about whether that's horror or not, but basically a family of freaks are the main characters. And I think that challenges our assumptions because it puts us in the place of the other, the freak, and then makes us, question what does that really mean? Who is the freak? Who is the good? Who is the bad? And how are we, by just partaking in the judging and the voyeurism of even reading the book and looking at these people who are different than us in a way that is, again, just sort of to titillate or enjoy, what does that make us? So it makes us rethink the ways that we do that. Maybe we don't see, actual freak shows coming through every day, but we see normal people or normal situations that we make exotic or extreme or degrade in some way because they're not like us. So those are just two examples. But anyway, long intro today. Sorry, guys. I just wanted this is something that really interests me, and I would be curious to hear your thoughts on it. Why do you read or write horror? And do you think that horror is something that just confirms the conventions of the everyday, or is it something that challenges it? I would definitely say for me, I hope that my fiction, my horror, challenges what we consider mainstream status quo, people in power, thoughts in power. And I think all really good fiction in general maybe does that. Love to hear your thoughts. Go check out the First Stop on the Blog tour. I'll have a link to it. And check out Consumption if you haven't yet. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.